Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Monday, June 30th, the last day of this month, 2025, out of the matrix into prime reality. Thank you for joining us on X, Rumble, and YouTube. And thank you to our wonderful moderator, Ronnie, in the live chat, doing a fantastic job. And of course, Kristin as the wise thumbs in the live chat as inspired, and everyone else. Thanks for joining us. I'm not going to do a long intro here. I got to ask you a question. You know, life's all about decisions. This is timeless wisdom. Everything, every second of every day is a decision, truly. But we tend not to be aware of that. So I'm asking you a serious question. Let me put it up on the screen here. Why haven't you made the most important decision of your life yet? What is that? What could that possibly be? And I'll say this right off the bat. This is not hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to catch your attention with a catchy phrase. This is the most important decision. And I try to oftentimes reverse engineer my life, the story, the journey. How did I get here? What happened? What mattered? What mattered less? What mattered most? And we're making some important decisions as we speak. Right now, we're making some very important decisions. Kristin and I are. Our family is. But I remember the one decision that changed everything subsequently. I was asking myself back in the day, what would it take to become the best possible version of me? Am I living that? Are my days filled with creating that? Are my days actually filled with creating my best life, my best journey, my best me? And what does that even mean? How do I define that? Because it's a deeply intimate and personal question. But if you never ask it, you can't answer it. And if you never answer it, you will feel until your very last breath as though you were the victim of your life's circumstances. And how does that fall into the bigger picture? Over the last few months, I've had plenty of conversations with people that asked me about the work that we do here. What is the most important thing? Is it the bio-nanotech stuff that's out there? Is it the geopolitical situation that's out there? Is it the chemtrails? Is it the trafficking? Is it the poisons in the food and the water and the air? And all of these things are incredibly significant and important. But I'm telling you why we know about these things. I'm telling you why we discovered all of this. Because there were people who made a decision to live the best possible version of themselves. That meant discovering, uncovering, speaking, showing, telling the truth. That was one level of that decision. And then there are people out there who do not believe that something is impossible to accomplish, as in informing the world about these things, as in inspiring change, as in starting movements for information, for transformation. Guess what these people first had to do? They had to raise their standards. They had to raise their standards, and they had to raise their floor. And I'll explain in a minute what that means. But I'm asking you before we move forward, what has kept you? I don't care if you're 18 or 82. What has kept you from making that decision? It's not a trick question. It's not a shame or guilt or fear question. It's just a question. Because I needed to take a good, honest look, and I still do every single day. Because it's my intention to hold myself accountable to the decisions that I make. It's not to put me in a pressure situation, but say, hey, you made that choice. Live up to it. Live up to that choice. I'm asking you seriously. It's June 30th. So it's halftime of this year. It's actually a good time, isn't it? Halftime. 6 months left in this year. Actually 5, right? 7, 8. That's actually. What would keep you from making the decision today that from this moment on, not starting tomorrow, not starting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but right now, starting today, I will put my focus on becoming the best possible version of me and creating my best possible life. Now you have to ask yourself, what am I waiting for? Who do I need to ask permission to do that? Do I need to wait until it gets worse? I really don't care whether you start with health or whether you start with finances or whether you start with relationships or whether you start with spirituality. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same thing. But what are you waiting for? Is it not bad enough? Is there still room to go lower? And this is a provocative question. So what is it? What's keeping you? What else are you prioritizing every single day over you? People say, we're not supposed to live a self-centered life. We're supposed to live a life in service. Well, that's not a contradiction, friends. We show up in service every single day, and we love showing up in service. But that can only happen because we are also and primarily taking really good care of ourselves, taking really good care of our lives. And actually making it something of significance. There's the old saying, you've seen the meme, you've seen it. Everybody wants change, but very few people want to change. You know what that really means? Forget the masses. The masses aren't even aware that they're in a program. But the critical mass, they are aware. But that means breaking the program, breaking the patterns. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday or 6 months ago or 6 years ago or 6 decades ago. Is it serving the best possible version of you? Is it serving your best life? Is it supporting it, or is it holding it back? I'll tell you something. Our dear friend Jane Barlow, you know her, Barlow Herbal, we're doing a series together. She sent us this book here, The Science of Scaling. And I want to say thank you to Jane, because I would have probably not bought this book because it's pretty much a business book. I've read the business books and it's all good. And this reads like a business book, but it has some fundamental universal principles and spiritual principles in it. The Science of Scaling, actually a tremendous read. Kept me up a couple nights because it reminded me of the laser sharp focus that certain decisions bring to your life. And there are people in our community, in our wonderful audience and viewership, that have made some incredible decisions, and their lives are unrecognizable to themselves compared to what it was just a few short years ago. I'll give you an example. I won't name names, but there's someone, she might even be watching this at some point. And we met this woman at one of our retreats. You Are the One. And when she came to our retreat, it's safe to say that two things were true. One, she was at a very difficult, challenging point in her life. I don't know if it was the low point, but it wasn't good. She also, at the same time, knew that something has to happen. Something has to happen. She has to do something. So she came to our retreat, You Are the One. And there was a moment, and I'm not quite sure if it was day 2, could have been day 3 of the retreat. There's a moment in all of those retreats that when somebody wants to have a breakthrough, they can have it. It's there. It's in the room. The energy is there. We create that energy together. And whoever wants to have that breakthrough moment, they can have it. She was ready for it. And she stood up and she was shaking and she was crying and she was sharing, not repeating the same story over and over again. She was speaking from the deepest pain in her heart. It was real, it was raw, it was honest, and she was sharing it. What I saw, I heard her words, but what I saw is a soul and a spirit yearning for love, yearning for love, knowing that's actually what is in store, knowing that's actually what wants to be lived. I saw that shine through her, and it didn't take much. It didn't take much. I won't give you all the details, but what it took for her to hear from somebody saying it completely honestly is, I love you. I don't love any particular version of you. I don't love this about you. My heart loves your heart. And that was the breakthrough moment. Now, we recently reconnected and got to hear some of the wonderful and beautiful things that have happened since in her life. Not because we made that happen at a retreat. No, because she showed up and she made a decision. And she wasn't going to settle for less. Was her life just unicorns and rainbows throughout the 2 years? No, some big challenges, some big challenges. But those challenges, when she talked about them, they seemed like something that she was well equipped to handle. She was well equipped to go through these challenges. She understood the growth that was going to come through them, but no wavering, no giving up. This is the power of a decision. When you choose something with your full heart, your full spirit, with everything that you have, it sets free the kind of energy and creation power that you couldn't even imagine before. But it is above and beyond all excuses. There are no excuses in this decision zone. There is no more keeping an old story alive, keeping an old excuse alive, falling back on the same old things that you used to fall back on. Oh, my life can't change because I can't do this because, if only I had this, then I could do that. None of this is true, folks. None of this is true. The most impactful decisions that I ever made were in impossible situations. I had nothing. We had nothing to our name, nothing. It was just a decision. But once that was made, and once we committed, and once I committed, there's no going back. There's just one direction. I'm asking you too. What if comfort and your comfort zone is not something that you enjoy so much, but it's actually a cage? It's actually a prison. It's keeping you from being bold, from being courageous, from being who you were actually meant to be. Here's the thing. If you today are in a war zone, or you just gone through a natural disaster, or your house just burned down, which unfortunately has happened for some people, if you're not in that situation right now, you're in a perfect position because you are free to grow. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just noise. If you are not in a situation where you need to focus all your energy on survival, physical survival, then you are in a perfect position to make a new choice. Because you are free to make that choice. And one of the most repeated lines that Kristin and I use when we work with people is give yourself permission. Allow yourself. And people say this and they say to us, why do you keep repeating this? I said, because you haven't heard it yet. They said, no, you said it 3 times. I said, yeah, but you haven't heard it yet because you've still not given yourself permission. Until you give yourself permission, You know, the ramp doesn't come up, the ramp is down, you're blocked. If you say yes to putting that ramp up, you automatically also say no to everything else that isn't aligned with your best possible you. The most common lie that people tell themselves is that they need better circumstances. The circumstances first need to change. I first need this. That person first needs to do that. That person first needs to live up to their promise. If this gets better next year, then I can get started. Next year never comes. That person will never come through. If they would, they already would have, but they don't. That person is not responsible. Whatever that person is, your boss, your spouse, your parent, your child, it doesn't matter. They're not responsible for your decisions. They're not responsible for your life. But it's a comforting excuse to keep that in our back pockets. Oh, John, you don't understand. I currently don't have any money. Or I barely make enough. There's nothing I can do. Okay. Then you're happy with where you are. If that's your answer, if that's your go-to, then you're happy with where you are. Who am I to mess with that? But for everyone else who realizes that your creator power and your decision power transcends all circumstances ultimately, and that there are millions of examples of people transcending their circumstances, no matter what they were, including war zones and disaster zones, including poor families and extreme poverty, including sickness and abuse, horrific circumstances. There are millions of examples in the world of people who have transcended them or are currently transcending them or will transcend them because of their choices. Because they decided they're not going to be defined by those circumstances, that their future is not their past, that their future story is not their past story. They have decided that they are going to write their story on the canvas of life. Do you think you're worth it? Do you think you are important enough to say yes? Do you think that you are worthy of living your best life? I can't define what that means for you. There are people and their best life is having the ability to sit on a bench and watch the river flow day in, day out as they please. There are others who feel that their best life would be traveling the world and experiencing different things. There are others who feel that their best life would be in service. I'm not the one who makes the rules here. You are. Whatever your best life is up to you. You're the designer. You're the creator. No one else can do that for you. And there are no rules. I can just tell you that there are certain conditions that almost all of us that live their best lives have realized are better fulfilled than not. I'll get to those. In this life, in this construct, in this era, sovereignty isn't given. It's not something that is handed to us. It's a truth that lives inside of us. But a sovereign life has to be built. It's a series of conscious decisions. And everything starts with the decision to be the best possible you and to live your best possible life. All of the good stuff comes from that. All of the good stuff comes from that. So the revolution, my friends, it doesn't start outside. It starts inside. The key components that a best possible life almost always has is to be as healthy and physically functional, and I should say also psychologically, as you can be. As you can be. Now, some people live in a wheelchair. That's their current reality. I'm not saying that By making a new choice, tomorrow you will walk. But that doesn't mean that it makes it impossible for you to live a wonderful life and to have relationships and to experience things. Whatever the circumstances are, you can bring things to a better level. I know this, you know this, we all know this. Another myth that poverty is somehow noble. That when you have financial abundance, you are bad, you're playing the game, you're part of the matrix, you are you are going to be corrupt and it's going to corrupt you. Well, if that's your choice, then that's what's going to happen. I know plenty of shitty people that are poor. I know plenty of shitty people that are rich. I don't think the level of shittiness has changed with being poor or being rich. It's just poor decisions. I also know plenty of wonderful people who have money, financial abundance and freedom, who, man, some of the best people that we've ever met have a significant amount of abundance, and they live it beautifully. They live it generously. They live it wisely. So if you think, oh, John, money is just a game, the fake, there's no gold back, it's all fiat. I know that. Trust me, I know that. I'm not saying this system is good, but it's the system we're currently working with. And there's very few people that I've ever met, and I can't even remember a single person that lives completely outside of currency, by the way, or people who do less of it, but they live abundantly. They don't live in poverty because of it. So poverty is not a virtue. It's not noble. It's a very, very good program though, isn't it? If you want to keep people trapped in their helplessness and situations, why don't you just put the lie into religions and spiritual texts that poverty is somehow noble? Modesty is a different thing, not poverty. What is poor? What is lack? Where does lack exist in the universe? How did that come to be? And who teaches that principle? It's not people that actually live in lack. It's people that live in abundance and don't want others to do it. Health, finances. You think you can't change that because of your circumstances or your age? There's plenty of examples out there of people who did, who are, and who can. If one person can do it, anyone can do it. If one person can do that, anyone can do it, but you have to make that choice. You have to make that decision. This is your life will only rise to the level of the decisions you're willing to make. Yeah. Nobody lives a beautiful life by accident. This system, this program is not designed to deliver a beautiful life. It has to be created. This system is designed for more suffering, for more sadness, just enough good to keep you going, but never enough to really be wonderful. So if you want to rely on this system to create a good life for you, good luck. People that do usually need pills or booze or both or any other kind of distraction from life. So the difference between them and you could be a decision. And without them, without that choice, without that decision, there is no difference. There's nothing that's going to magically change. No quantum financial system, no med beds, no whatever the stories out there are, those stories have existed for as long as life has existed. And the story is there is something out there, a creature, a figure, a savior, a technology, something that will fix your life if only it becomes available to you. And don't get me wrong, there might be a person involved in your journey. There might be a helper involved in your journey. There might be somebody who shows up on a screen and says the right thing at the right time. But that doesn't mean they are fixing anything for you. That doesn't mean that is the thing that fixes your life or creates a more beautiful life. So if you're waiting for Nisara Jasara, the Pleiadians, the Galactic Federation, the White Hats, the mass arrests, whatever that is, good luck. 10 years from now, your life and your circumstances will have deteriorated and you will still be waiting. Because whatever it is that you project with that outcome, it starts here. It always has, always will. If enough of us realize this and live it, then that outcome will actually project in physical reality, which is what always happens. You live who you are. You live what you are, not what you think about most, not what you dream about most. You live what you actually are. So if you decide and choose to be the best you and really live up to that, that's what your life is going to start to reflect, and there's no other way. Here's a mantra from the military, the special forces, and they'll say that mantra over and over again: is control the controllables. What do we actually have influence over right now? Health, thoughts, emotions, energy, finances, purpose. Those are things that we can affect, can transform, can change if we make that choice. Start with one. Whatever that is, whatever is most pressing in your life. How do you know what's most pressing in your life? Well, put your hand on your heart, tune in for 3 seconds. It will show up for you. Is it most pressing in your life to improve your health? Is it most pressing to find a better nutritious diet, to drink cleaner water, to have fresher and more energized thoughts? Well, then go. Then go. Another friend of mine, dear friend, longtime friend, has been on a downward spiral for years, knowing he's on a downward spiral health-wise, knowing it very well, being able to observe himself, but for some reason, he didn't want to make that choice. He recently made it, and you know what he said? Can you please help me? I was waiting for those words for years because I knew if he said them, then he was finally ready. And within a few days, he got started. Kristin put a wonderful package together for him. A few simple instructions on diet and detox, nothing complicated. And 2 weeks in, and I had a conversation with him today, and I can see the changes. I can feel it in his presence, in his energy, in his words. I can see it in his skin, in his eyes. 2 weeks, and things are already beginning to shift. No telling what will happen in 2 months or 2 years if he sticks with it. That's the power of choices. One day, one choice, 1 second, and you can make a difference. You can change your life. If you feel inclined to justify why that isn't possible for you, if you feel the itch to leave a comment that will explain to me why in your case this is not possible, please resist. I will not read it. As soon as I realize reading the comments what this is about, I will scroll over it. I've heard every excuse in the book. I've given every excuse in the book to myself. I've given myself every excuse in the book why I can't change anything. I used to be that guy. I told myself that. And I told everyone who wanted to hear it or didn't want to hear it. It was never true. I lied to myself. And if that's you, you're lying to yourself. You're welcome. Somebody had to say it. But if that's not you, today, right now, here, this is it. This is the moment. I want to read this to you because I thought it was a beautiful quote by Simon Alexander. Consistency is strange. It often feels like progress and more like repetition and showing up when nothing seems to be changing. But that's the secret most people miss. Change doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly and gradually until one day, the results you can see catch up with the effort no one saw. Truth is, growth looks like nothing is happening until suddenly everything is happening. Not because you did something once, but because you did something consistently, even when it felt like it didn't matter. That's what makes consistency so powerful. The compound effect of small, intentional action is always working, especially when it feels like it isn't. So be patient with the process and impatient with taking action. That's the impatience, my friends. Taking inspired action. The power of this is also that when you zero in on a decision and you wonder which course of action will support that decision the most, you will figure that out, which means what is the shortest, most effective path from here to where I want to go? Is that optimal weight? Is that feeling healthy rather than uh, uneasy, unenergized, all those things? What is that path? Ask yourself. The answers are all there. You have access to information, to tools, to people. They're all over the place. They're just waiting to speak to you through a screen, through a consultation, through a conversation. Doesn't matter. They're there. And then do it. I can't tell you how many people are on the sidelines waiting for life to get better. But life does not get better. You make life better. That is the truth. And that's where everything started from. We couldn't have found and experienced and seen so much of what we're talking about here if that wasn't the foundation. I'll give you another example. Do you know how many people turn down or don't even consider wonderful free offerings and gifts that they could receive? As a matter of fact, something is much more effective and more people have better results with something that costs quite a lot of money than something that is free. I'll give you an example. We have invited people and said, hey, there's no strings attached here. Give FLFE, Focused Life Force Energy, a try for 15 days. They don't need your credit card. They don't need anything from you. They won't charge you, and there won't be a subscription created. That's just 15 days. What does 15 days do? Let's say that you choose the FLFE, the home service. It will clear the negative energy, residual negative energy, geopathic stress, bad vibes from past people that lived there or some bad things that happen. If only that clearing would happen, that would be an amazing gift. But so much more happens in those 15 days. Do you know how many people turn down that invitation because they feel that potentially they couldn't afford, if they liked the service, they couldn't afford it later? What kind of thinking is that? What kind of self-sabotaging action is it to not accept a free offering because of fear of what might come in the future? There was a person here not too long ago, one of our wonderful viewers, who said in the live chat that she won't be able to pay her rent next month. That's what she wrote. I won't be able to pay my rent next month. I saw that. I rarely catch comments during the live show, but I saw that comment and I said, hold on. How do you know that? How could you possibly know that you won't be able to pay your rent next month unless you make that decision? Unless you choose that you don't want to be able to. Sure. But how could you know that that's going to be the truth? I said, I don't see that. I actually said, I see an envelope. I see potential. I see possibility. Don't make that choice. Make another choice. And guess what? She made another choice. A couple days later, she came back in a live chat. She said that envelope, it came. It literally came in an envelope. And it wasn't just 1 month. It was 2 months rent. All of these things, my friends, are choices. We choose what we believe about our next day, our next moment, our next second. We choose what we believe about our future. And if you are very aware of what is going on in the world and the craziness and the madness, what could be a better antidote than you being the opposite of the madness, than you being the opposite of the craziness, and your life being the role model life, the beauty, the joy, the harmony, the expansion, the service, the abundance, the love, the happiness, the freedom, the sovereignty. Does that mean, John, if I make that choice, does that mean I'll never have problems again? I'll never have challenges again? No, you'll have them. They'll show up. You'll just be so much better equipped to handle them. They won't put you in a timeout, in a spiral where you can't function. You'll somehow know that you'll work it out, that it will be fine, that there is always a path. So I'm asking you again, I'm getting back to the root, to the beginning of the show. What is keeping you today from making that choice? And I'll give you a very honest perspective here. I'm selfish like that. I know that the more people that choose to become the best possible version of themselves, the more people that choose to live their best lives, the better we all will be off. It's selfish. I'm not going to lie. I look at my children's future, my unborn grandchildren's future, and I know the more people that live their best possible life, the better theirs will be. The better everything will get. It's June 30th. It seems like a wonderful day to make that choice. If this will keep you up tonight, if this won't leave your thoughts in your mind, there's a reason for that. And here's the thing too. You got to create some urgency around that decision. If you're going to keep putting it off, it's never going to happen. What could be more important than you? What could be more important than your life? And what if your life is the one that if you shift some things, what if you are the one? You're the one that tips the scale. What if you making that choice sends the all deciding ripple wave through the universe? And this is what was needed for bigger shifts to happen. Who knows? Could be you. All right, my friends. Also want to thank you, my love. Thank you. Also wanted to invite you all. I wanted to invite you to the After Awakening retreat. It's happening July 12th and 13th. We are so in the spirit of it already. I'm walking with it. We're planning it all out. And a lot of it is based on the moment that so many are in and catching that energy and finding it and feeling it and then transmuting it together. And this retreat is unlike any other that we've done before. It was literally based off of your reactions to those two shows and the void that happens for many after the awakening. And this show totally today spoke to that too. So if you felt that inspiration, the nudge, the hunch, the yes to join us, we'd love to have you. AfterAwakeningRetreat.com. It's an online retreat. So don't worry about finding out where it is. It's on the internet. You don't need to download a software. You don't even need to have Zoom. It's going to be on a platform called StreamYard. All you need is click the link and you'll be in. It's happening July 12th and 13th. And it's going to be a beautiful journey. I can tell you that. I already know that it's going to be a beautiful journey. And it's not going to be the destination, friends. It's going to be the new beginning. So if that speaks to you, go to AfterAwakeningRetreat.com. And if you get a yes in your chest, in your heart, we'd love to have you. All right, my friends, much love, many blessings, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon. Your environment shapes everything, your thoughts, your health, your energy, but most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.